It is the Patrick Netherton Show right here in 1130 The Tiger. That guy over there is Rogers Hampton. I'm Patrick Netherton. Pleased to have you with us, and pleased to welcome in a guy who has to be as excited as can be in the coronavirus pandemic quarantine age. That is former chairman of the Independence Bowl, now the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. He is Art Carmody, who is joining us to talk about the big announcement from the I Bowl this morning that they'd have a new title sponsor. Art, how the heck are you, man?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. Before we get into all of that and how this all went down and whatnot, how's the quarantine hair?
I'm glad you asked. It's I got a haircut probably maybe a week before all the quarantine went into effect, which is a good thing. Right now, it's probably approaching like 2008 Tim Lincecum hair, but if this thing keeps going a little further, it may be like the 2010 Lincecum hair. Which
oh,
is really
man.
long.
That is something else. Well, I believe you must bless us all with a picture of it at some point.
I can work on that.
Yeah, after all, I've blessed everyone with both the Einstein and the faux hawk at some point.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So,
great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. At least it's better than your draft hair is all I can say.
Well, lack of it really wasn't draft hairs. I didn't get drafted.
Well,
yeah, that combine photo that you showed. Bad haircut, but I persevered and worked through that and working with some good flow right now.
All right. Well, you're absolutely sky high, but I'm about to bring you back down to earth. All right. Rogers Hampton has to get the microphone here because I showed him your combine picture. And he had something to say about your combine picture. Rogers, would you like to tell Art what you saw in that combine photo?
Well, you're kind of presenting this like,
Well, it's a huge insult, so I need you to go ahead and say it.
I had never seen the picture before, Art, and I'm used to you a little thinner in the neck, hair a little longer or a little more combed over. When I saw you with the weight around your neck and that baby face, no offense whatsoever, but look at an old picture of Patrick when he couldn't grow facial hair. And he was a little chunky around the neck, and he had a bad haircut. Y'all looked very similar, and I do not mean that as a negative. I just immediately thought, well, why are you showing me a picture of you when you were, 19 years old? Y'all really looked a lot alike. I'm so glad you have changed. That was the point of that. Was so glad you matured and changed, and Patrick was able to grow facial hair because that way y'all look nothing alike.
Well, I'm a big fan of Patrick, so that's okay.
Okay, good deal.
I honestly, if I were you, I'd never have been more insulted in my entire life when it was all said and done. All right, look, the news of the day, obviously, this morning, we hear that there's a big announcement that comes out yesterday. Obviously, the speculation running rampant. What is it going to be? Everything from the doomsday scenario of, well, the game's, gonna shutter or it's going to be postponed or something like that to, hey, maybe there's some sort of a new TV deal in place because it was a Fox Sports email that it came from and ultimately ends up being a new title sponsor, a new 5-year deal. Walk me through this to some extent because I know a lot of this happened on your watch before you turned things over as chairman. Kind of walk us through the timeline of this and how this all went down.
Yeah, sure. And no, you're absolutely right. I mean, when we announced that we were going to be having the announcement today, I'm sure with everything going on, people probably assumed it was negative. But no, great question. And yeah, when Walk Onto was a great title sponsor when they had notified us back in the fall that they were not going to be picking up the options for years 4 and 5. We got with Impression Sports, marketing firm or search firm to help us find a new title sponsor. And through this was all, Frank Auer, who was our vice chair last year, who's our chairman this year. He knew Mr. Bailey from Radiance Technologies, and just in talking to him kind of threw out an idea of just, maybe sponsoring something down the road, not really, thinking about the title sponsorship. And just through his relationship, they kind of continued that dialogue through the beginning of the year. And Frank was really able to bring this one home. So I want to credit, Frank Auer for, opening up the dialogue and bringing this to the table.
And that's interesting because, Art, I always talk about not burning bridges, especially in media, because, the same guy that you see 10 years ago that you berate may be the guy that's doing the hiring for a position you want sometime down the road. And I know that it's that way in business, but just the idea that you start a dialogue with someone not intending for it to go all the way up to title sponsor, and yet when the time is right, it does end up going there. I've got to imagine in your business, especially around the bowls, it's very important to craft those relationships and keep them open like that.
Absolutely. That's something that Missy always stresses to the executive committee, to the selection committee. Anytime you're talking to the head coaches of the teams, the athletic directors, you never know where that person's going to be in 5, 10, 15 years. The athletic director at Cincinnati may be the commissioner in the Big 12.
Right.
You just never know where they're going to be going forward. So yeah, absolutely, that plays a huge part in everything that we do with the bowl is maintaining those relationships, fostering those relationships. Prime example is the Pac-12 relationship with Trey Giglio. Trey Giglio started that in just a normal conversation and built that up over the last couple of years. And when we were looking for new partners going forward, we were able to get them just from a relationship that Trey had developed.
You never know when the AD of LSU might end up being the president of the NCAA.
That's right.
Never know when that might happen. Talking to Art Carmody, former chairman, this past year's chairman for the Independence Bowl. I got to get used. I was mentioning earlier, Art. I got to get used to calling it the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Got to get that used to going in my mouth and coming out, because at some point it's going to be uttered beautifully in Independence Stadium over the loudspeakers. I just don't know whenever that might occur. I'm curious with this whole. I know that the coronavirus maybe isn't impacting this as much because, with the exception of maybe some face-to-face meetings that you may have had over Zoom as opposed to face-to-face, I would imagine the process went pretty similar to how it would if there was no pandemic and no quarantines going on. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the relationship was built over phone calls and conference calls and Zoom meetings. And obviously, Frank, his chairmanship took over at the beginning of March, so he was having more of those conversations. I was not involved. We definitely let Frank run with this one, and he was able to bring it home. So I really wasn't there on kind of the back end of this, but I knew that it was a possibility, and I was keeping my fingers crossed.
Talking to Art Carmody, the former chairman of the Independence Bowl, the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Art, let's talk about kind of looking forward now. It's a 5-year contract. I don't know how much detail. I'm going to leave this open-ended. What can you tell us about it in terms of the guaranteed years? I know walk-ons had sort of a 3-year and then an option for the last 2. What can you tell us in terms of the actual nitty-gritty details? I'll just kind of leave that open-ended, and you can speak to whatever you can speak to.
Yeah, obviously, the agreement is confidential, but
sure.
I can say that it's a guaranteed 5-year deal.
Good.
Which is rare in kind of the college bowl landscape these days. I mean, you saw the last few ones that we've had were 2 and 3 years respectively, and you see that with a lot of other bowls across the country. They're short-term deals. So this one brings, just some stability to the bowl. I think with, this announcement today, and coupled with the new conference and team agreements, as well as, continued discussions with ESPN, we've got a lot of momentum, surrounding our game and excitement surrounding our game, which, not to say we didn't have it in years past, but it was always kind of reactive excitement. This, I think, has been a lot of proactive excitement in getting the new title sponsor for the game, as well as fostering the relationships that allowed us to have the matchups over the next 6 years. I think it brings a lot to this area, and as a foundation and an executive committee, we're extremely excited about it.
This whole pandemic and the quarantine stuff, what, if anything, has it affected for y'all? I mean, obviously, you had the game, you got the game in, you kind of got the post game in, you got that all handled, wrapped up. Is there anything that's being hampered right now in terms of your preparation for the upcoming game by this quarantine and what's going on?
Not right now. I mean, there's still a lot of speculation as to what's happening with all sports. I mean, not just college football, but all the the major sports. And the NCAA is trying to work through that. The conferences are trying to work through that, and the bowls, we'll take the guidance, when it comes. But I think, from a we have a lot of events that we help put on throughout the year, so those have been either postponed or pushed back till later in the summer as we try to figure out, when the quarantine's going to end and what happens next. So, at this point, kind of if this was this time last year, we'd be preparing for our crawfish boil and the kid combine and the camp that we do in the summer, which we get a lot of the local football coaches from Northwestern, Louisiana Tech, Grambling come over and help with that. We'd be preparing for those type of events, the tennis tournament, the kickoff K's event that we do. So right now, with just kind of everything kind of paused, we're doing the same thing and trying to figure out, okay, what dates can we move these to, what adjustments can be made. So, I credit Jeff Butler and Logan and Eric and Missy and the staff because they're constantly trying to work through this to figure out, when things can be moved around.
Talking to Art Carmody, former chairman of the Independence Bowl, and about the new agreement with Radiance Technologies. All right, so tell us a little bit about Radiance Technologies, Art. What do we need to know about this crew, and why was this a good fit for the iBowl? And kind of what was the relationship there with the new chairman, Frank Auer? How did this all come about? What do we need to know about Radiance?
Other than the lasers?
Right, other than the lasers.
Yeah, no, they're a fantastic company, and their goal in partnering with us is to build some national brand awareness. They're a solutions provider for defense and intelligence customers. And, one of their largest customers is the U.S. Army, so they're excited about the West Point tie and have an Army in our game. And the Air Force is one of their largest customers also. And, we're obviously home to Barksdale and the U.S. Air Force Major Command. So they're hoping that will help their brand awareness with the Army and Air Force. And they've got their Louisiana workforce. They got offices in Shreveport, Ruston, and Baton Rouge, employees that are in South Louisiana. Their CEO has strong ties to Louisiana and Shreveport. He was assigned to Barksdale as a young airman. He graduated from Louisiana Tech. So just a lot of local ties to this community. And, our game, the Independence Bowl, just allows them to continue to grow their brand and grow their company.
All right, Art. These are now time for the important questions. I have kind of posited here on the air that in lieu of the traditional logo backpack that the media gift normally is, are we all getting jetpacks?
I do not know that.
Okay.
I do not know the answer to that.
Can you start working on this?
I can call Frank Auer.
Okay.
See if he can work on this.
Okay.
And he brought us a title sponsor.
Sure.
I figure he's got this way to maybe get some jetpacks.
Yeah, look, here's the deal, Art. I will fully renounce my my loyalty and my fealty to Art Carmody if Frank Auer produces jetpacks as media gifts.
see what we can do.
Yeah, also, I think this is also very important because we always, traditionally we get the old, it's just like the blossoms in the spring. We get as soon as the Indy Bowl comes up, it's some columnist from whatever whatever schools out there. What is Shreveport? Who wants to go to Shreveport? All of that stuff. Can we do targeted drone strikes on critics of Shreveport and the Independence Bowl?
I'm all for that.
Okay.
I love the Independence Bowl and I love Shreveport, but I don't think I have the authority to sign off on that.
Okay. I didn't know if you had some sort of an agreement put together where you could do that, but I'm just saying these are just ideas I'm throwing out there. If you want to pass them along to Frank and the crew, that's okay. I'm just saying targeted drone strikes. All of a sudden, we're going to have the best press for Shreveport and the Independence Bowl we've ever had if you've got the might of the military behind you. That's all I'm saying.
No, absolutely. And I do want to clarify, Frank, his initial conversations with Mr. Bailey were for the title sponsor.
Oh, was it? It started that way?
This was all, yeah.
That's
absolutely.
cool. And look, that's what's awesome, when you have those kind of contacts and the ability to be able to move that along and have someone that comes in and again, to me, Art, the biggest deal about this is the guaranteed 5 years. That's a huge, huge deal. I don't know that people understand just how big that is in terms of stability for a little while and not having to think about going through this process again in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we were ecstatic when Frank had kind of relayed his conversations with Radiance and the contract that they were proposing. I mean, we couldn't have been more excited as an organization to have that stability, and like I mentioned before, have the excitement around the game and a plan moving forward. I think this is just fantastic with everything that has happened over the last 12 months or so with our game. It's been nothing but positive news.
Hey, last thing, kind of going off topic a little bit here. What do you think is the first sport that gets back? We were kind of discussing this a little bit earlier. What do you think is the first sport that comes back and entertains us sometime here in the near future?
I mean, if my guess would be baseball.
Yeah.
Just from you think about the game. It's kind of got some social distancing just in the field in general with the nine players kind of not near each other. I think that would maybe the easiest one to bring back. I'd love to see the NBA come back. I love the NBA playoffs, but I just don't know how feasible that one is at this time.
Yeah, we think golf maybe. I know
that's the easy answer because they already announced it.
Right, but that doesn't mean they're going to go through with it. They've just said they're going to be back in June. Doesn't necessarily mean they will at this point. Hey, look, man, this has been fantastic. It's great news this morning. You're the best. You know that. Even if Frank comes up with jetpacks for the media members, you're still my number one, Art. Congratulations on all of this getting done to you and all the rest of the folks, Frank and Missy and everyone. And we're looking forward to some stability for the Eye Bowl, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Rogers.
All right. See you later.
You got it, Art.
Even though he thinks you look like me, or at some point in your life you looked like me. I'm sorry, Art.